Welcome, sir. I am such an enormous fan of your work. It is trenchant, brave. You've been banned from making filmmaking for 20 years, yes?
یه حکم 20 ساله بهم داده بودن که ممنوعیت از فیلم ساختن، فیلمنامه نوشتن، سفر به خارج و مصاحبه بود.
I had a 20-year sentence that banned me from making films, writing scripts, and traveling abroad.
من الان داشتم برنامه‌تون رو نگاه می‌کردم. 1/100 این حرفایی که شما زدید اگه تو ایران بزنید حکمتون اعدامه.
I was watching your show now. If you say 1/100th of what you just said in Iran, the sentence will be execution.
I would be killed.
چون ما تو فیلمامون حتی به 1/100 هم به این حرفا نمیرسیم.
Because in our films we don't even get to 1/100th of what you said here.
خیلی از الان فیلمسازهای ایرانی هستن که تو زندانن.
There are many Iranian filmmakers now who are in prison.
تو همین 2 ماه گذشته که تظاهرات بود یکی از دوستان همکارمون کشته شدن تو خیابون.
And in the past 2 months that there were protests, one of our filmmaker friends got killed on the
یعنی شما با یه حکومتی سر کار دارید که اجازه حتی 1/100 این حرف رو زدن رو بهتون نمیده، اظهار نظر رو بهتون نمیده.
You're dealing with a state, with a regime that will not allow you to even say 1/100th of what you just said.
Right.
و مردم برای این توی خیابونا اومدن که بخوان به نقطه‌ای برسن که از هر کی بتونن انتقاد کنن.
And people are on the street now because they want to reach a point that they could criticize anyone.
ولی اون حتی تحمل یک تظاهرات آروم و مسالمت‌آمیز رو نداره.
But they will not even tolerate a peaceful protest.
به خاطر همین رگبار میبنده.
And that's why they start shooting people en masse.
کشتار عظیم به راه میندازه.
And committing mass murders.
ببخشید حال هوای برنامه‌تون اگه عوض کردم.
I'm sorry if I messed up the mood of your show.
Not even close. I'm in awe of your courage. You're right. We often take for granted even the most. Our fear is we're heading in the wrong direction in terms of being censored and those types of things. But so clearly our perspective is warped because in our country freedom is, we consider it a birthright and settled law. And why we fight so hard to preserve it when we see it threatened, which is why you were, I think, such a real hero of mine. So you were banned from making films. So what you did is you made a film called This Is Not a Film.
نه ببین اصلا بحث قهرمان بودن و اینا نیست.
It's not really about being a hero.
وقتی میگی قهرمان باید بگی نسبت به چی قهرمانی.
When you talk about heroism, you have to say compared to what?
نسبت به اونی که الان 10 سال 15 سال در زندانه.
Is it compared to the person who's been in prison for 10 or 15 years?
من فقط چند ماه رفتم زندان.
Then I've only been in prison for a few months.
من سعی کردم کار خودم رو بکنم، فیلم خودم رو بسازم.
But you've been in prison. They imprisoned you for making movies and your answer was, how do you like this movie?
جوابتون بود که از این فیلم چطور خوشتون میاد. I've just tried to do my job.
But that's the fact that you feel compelled and you could live anywhere. When you're here for the award season, you'll go to LA. Where will you go after that?
لس آنجلس میرید. بعد از لس آنجلس کجا قرار برید؟
ایران.
That's what I mean. Now, to be clear, I'm not crazy about LA either, so I understand. If the choice is
نه اونجا کشور منه.
It's just my country.
بعد
how is your
نصفی
family?
از وجود من اونجاست. خانواده‌ام اونجاست.
Half of my being is there. My family is there.
من خودم تا 3-4 ماه پیش که به خاطر کمپین اسکار اومدم بیرون همش اونجا بودن.
And I lived there permanently until 3-4 months ago when I came out because of the Oscar campaign.
پسرم، مادرم، خواهرام، برادرام، همکارام، همه آدما اونجا هن.
My son, my mother, my brothers, my sisters, my colleagues, everyone is there.
خب وقتی با این نصف وجودت اونجاست تو چگونه میتونی بیرون باشی؟
When half of you is there, then how could you be out?
See, this is what I'm noticing in America now, and it may seem quaint, you know, when you said it earlier, how can I be a hero if other people have been imprisoned longer? And we think here what rights we may be fighting for seem quaint comparatively to the mass murdering of the mullahs and the terrible censorship and the way it lives. But what I think breeds optimism and hope is what you just said, which is you love where you're from. And as hard as it is, you fight to create the kind of world that you would rather live in the place that you love, with the people that you love.
ببینید مردم به هر شکلی به هر نوعی سعی میکنن مقاومت کنن.
People will resist in any form or way.
من با کار کردنم مقاومت میکنم، مردم به گونه دیگه، هر کی در هر جایگاهی هستش به گونه مقاومت میکنه.
I resist with the kind of work I do, and someone else might resist in another form.
همین حدود 45 روز پیش تو اون کشتار بزرگ که در ظرف 2 روز صورت گرفت،
بفهمین.
در واقع در 10 ساعت صورت گرفت، حدود 30-40 هزار نفر کشته شدن.
In the past 45 days, in that mass killing, which happened only in 2 days, and in fact only in 10 hours, about 40,000 people got killed.
بعد از اون خب مردم شوکه شدن، مردم در یک غم، یک عزاداری فرو رفتن.
And of course people were shocked, and they went into sorrow and a state of mourning.
رژیم اومد حتی عزاداری را ممنوع کرد.
Then the regime even banned mourning,
ولی مردم اومدن راه پیدا کردن.
but people found a way around that.
بر سر مزار فرزندشون، بر سر مزار عزیزانشون موسیقی پخش کردند و رقصیدن.
And they started dancing on the graves of their loved ones and their children. And they played music and danced to that music.
بچه دبستانیشون، پسرشون، دخترشون که میخواست ازدواج کنه، همه اینا رقص مرگ رو گذاشتن.
Their elementary school kids or their children who were about to get married, they came up with the dance of death.
در واقع مرگ نبود، نوعی زندگی بود.
But it wasn't death, it was a form of life.
خب میخوام بگم هر کی راه پیدا میکنه حتی در مرگ هم مخالفت خودش رو نشون بده.
What I'm trying to say is that everyone will find the way to show the resistance, even in death.
پس منم تو شغلم میگردم راه پیدا کنم برای کار کردن، برای مقاومت کردن و میدونم این مقاومت هزینه داره.
I too will find a way in my job to work and to resist, and I know that that resistance will come with a price.
یعنی کار خارق‌العاده‌ای نمی‌کنم، کاری که مردم میکنن خیلی بزرگتر از کاری که ما میکنیم.
So I'm not doing anything extraordinary. What people are doing is much bigger than what I'm doing.
من چون فیلمساز اجتماعیم یعنی یک نوع شاهدم.
Because I am a socially engaged filmmaker, I am a witness.
شاهدم از این دوران.
I witness the time period.
از اون چی که در جامعه میگذره، از اون چی که پیرامونم میگذره.
And what happens in my society and around me.
کار خارق‌العاده‌ای هم نمی‌کنم، نظر خاصی هم نمیدم، بلکه اون چی که میسازم به نوعی شهادت در این دورانه.
I'm not doing anything extraordinary. I'm not giving any particular opinion. What I'm doing is witnessing what I have seen in this time period.
ما این هزینه رو هر کدوممون تک تک مردم کشورمون پذیرفتیم، میدونیم این کشورمون رو دوست داریم، در اونجا میخوایم زندگی کنیم و برای زندگی کردن اونجا باید هزینه بپردازیم و این هزینه هاشه.
And the people of my country have accepted that they will have to pay a price because they love their country and they want to live in it.
But that, sir, is what's so moving to me, I think, is the idea that for you to just live a human experience that I take for granted every day as an act of utter defiance it shows you what you would consider the ordinary are capable of when pushed. And to see it in your work, and I think the film really explores that. Your film, and I assume that it is influenced by your time in Evin Prison, which is the terrible, notorious prison. I assume that it's this journey of 5 people who had been tortured, 4 that have been tortured, and the other along for the ride. Each one representing, it seems, a different way of processing that trauma. Is that what you were expressing through this? Just an observation of what that trauma had done for people?
در واقع این تجربه من تنها نبودش، تجربه من بود و دیگر زندانیان.
In fact, this was not my experience alone. It was my experience and the other prisoners.
خب ببین وقتی یک زندانی وارد میشه، یک کسی رو وارد میکنن زندان سیاسی، اولین کاری که میکنن ازش بازجویی میکنن.
When a prisoner of conscience enters the prison system, the first thing they do is they interrogate that person.
شما بدون اینکه وکیلی داشته باشید، کسی رو داشته باشید، مجبورید با چش بسته رو به دیوار بشینید و اونا یه قلم و کاغذ بهتون میدن که سوالایی که یه آدمی پشت سرته رو میکنه جواب بدید.
Without having an attorney, they will give you a piece of paper and a pen, and they will blindfold you and put you in front of a wall, and you will have to respond to the questions that a person behind you asks.
شما اون لحظه اصلا حواستون به هیچ حستون کار نمیکنه، حس شنواییتون بیشتر کار میکنه.
At that moment, it is your auditory sense that works most. Your other senses don't really engage.
و شما اون لحظه فکر میکنید که واقعا اگه من بیرون این آدم رو صداشو بشنوم یا چشو بشنوم میتونم بشناسمش. این اصلا الان این پشت سر من چند سالشه، چه شکلیه.
And what you're thinking is whether or not you're going to recognize this person outside jail. What you're thinking is how old is this person? What does this person look like?
اون موقع من با این چیکار میخوام بکنم؟
And what am I going to do if I encounter this
این
person?
سوالی که همش تو ذهنتونه.
This is a question constantly.
این تجربه جمعیه.
And it is a collective experience.
اما بقیهش وقتی وارد بند عمومی تر میشی، حالا زندانی های دیگه هستن.
But when you go into a public ward, then you meet other prisoners.
و شما هر روز با هم دیگه صحبت میکنید.
And you always talk to them every day.
یعنی در واقع بعضی هستن 5 سال 10 سال تو اون زندان بودن.
Some people have been incarcerated for 5 or 10 years.
حرف میزنن که روزشون بگذره.
They just talk because it's pastime.
من اون موقع که با اینا حرف میزدم اصلا فکر نمیکردم یک روز میخوام در مورد همچین چیزی فیلم بسازم.
When I was talking to them, I really was not thinking that one day I'm going to make a film about it.
اما درست اون روزی که اون در باز شد، من از زندان اومدم بیرون، برگشتم یه لحظه پشت سرم رو نگاه کردم و یه دیوار بلند دیدم.
But the day that the gates opened and I was released, I turned around for a second and I saw that big wall behind me.
با خودم گفتم خب من این بیرون چیکار دارم میکنم؟ بچه‌ها هنوز اون تو هن.
And I asked myself, what is it that I'm doing outside? My friends are still in there.
اون لحظه است که احساس میکنی یه باری رو دوش سنگینی میکنه.
That's when I thought that there was a burden weighing heavy on my shoulders.
هرچی میگذره این بار سنگین و سنگین‌تر میشه.
And it kept getting heavier by the day.
و بعد یه روزی میرسه که دیگه شما تحمل ندارید، باید اینو زمین بگذارید.
Until the day that I couldn't tolerate carrying it anymore and I had to unburden.
حالا من زمین میذارم، میگم چیکار میتونم کنم؟ پس در موردشون فیلم میسازم.
So to put that burden down, I asked myself, what can I do? And I realized I have to make a film about them.
از اون تجربه جمعی که بود، از اون داستانهایی که شنیدی، تک تک آدم ها گفتن و نهایتش میشه این فیلم.
A film about that collective experience and about those stories that I heard from every single one of those people. The result became this film.
در واقع تقصیر من نیست، تقصیر اون باریه که رو دوش من سنگین و سنگین تر شد.
And in fact, it wasn't my fault. It was the fault of that burden that kept getting heavier.
اون بار همون مسئولیت اجتماعی فیلمسازه.
And that burden is that duty. It's that social duty of the filmmaker.
شما یه باری رو دوشتون احساس میکنید از آینده کشورتون.
You might feel a burden about the future of your country.
و هر کسی بخواد به نوعی خلاف قانون بره، به نوعی به اون آزادی که میخواهید صدمه بزنه، خب سعی میکنید این بار رو زمین بذارید و حرفتون رو بزنید.
And anyone going against the law or trying to hurt the law, you might want to try to say what you need to say.
اما تو کشور من گذاشتن اون بار زمین جرمه.
And that would be putting that burden down. But in my country, putting that burden down is a crime.
به خاطرش خیلی از زندان رفتن.
And many people were incarcerated for it.
But you did something, I think, in your work that really demonstrated, that showed the difference between humanity and authoritarianism, and that is doubt. Your characters, one of the main threads through it is they're not sure if this is the man who tortured them in prison, and they wrestled with their doubt. And it's what made you realize they had retained what made them human, because the authoritarian regime has only certainty and treats people not as individuals. It didn't matter if they were guilty, innocent in this prison. They're nothing. But your characters still maintain their humanity to look at this torturer and want to see him as an individual. And by showing that, I can't tell you how it articulated and illuminated what it means to be free and to be human. And one of the most interesting things is when the one gentleman, as soon as he saw his captor, he reached down and he felt his leg to feel the scars, to make sure that those were the scars that while blindfolded, he had felt before, to know if this was the man or not. It's so beautifully done, sir. I thank you for the work.
ممنونم. ببین ما دو نوع فیلمساز تو دنیا بیشتر نداریم.
Thank you. We only have two types of filmmakers in the world.
No, you got to tell us the types.
حالا باید بگی چه
95% فیلمسازایی هستن که میبینن تماشاگر چی میخواد.
95% are filmmakers who are after what the audience wants.
یعنی سلیقه‌شون رو میبرن به اندازه تماشاگر، هر چی که اون میخواد بهش میدن، فیلم میسازن.
Meaning they adapt their taste to the taste of the audience and they give the audience what it wants.
بحثم همه جای دنیاست، نه فقط ایران.
And I'm talking about everywhere around the world, not just in Iran.
5% میگن نه، من اینگونه نگاه میکنم و تماشاگر بیاد منو پیدا کنه.
But another 5% says this is how I look and now it's on the audience to come and find me.
و اونجایی که شما دیگه با سلیقه تماشاگر نیستید، با سلیقه خودتون هستید، اجازه نمیدید سلیقه‌ای بر شما غالب بشه.
And where you're not going with the taste of the audience and you're just going according to your own taste, you will not allow anything to dictate you.
اجازه نمیده کسی بهت بگه اینو بساز یا اونو بساز.
You will not allow anyone to tell you what to make.
اون موقع است که شما واقعیت رو میسازید.
And that's when you will make the reality.
در واقع تو اون واقعیت همه انسانن.
And in fact, in that reality, everyone is a human being.
به همه یک نگاه انسانی میشه.
And you will have a humanistic look on everyone.
آدم خوب و بد مطلق وجود نداره،
There is no purely good or purely evil person,
بلکه یک ساختار معیوب وجود داره.
but we only have dysfunctional systems.
تو این ساختار معیوبه که انسان‌ها رو این گونه تقسیم کرده.
And it is that dysfunctional system that has divided people as such.
این مال اون خصوصیت سینمای اجتماعیه.
This is a characteristic of a socially engaged cinema.
نگاه انسانی به همه داره
A humanistic look on everybody.
و با آینده‌ای که چرخه خشونت توش به پایان برسه.
And to a future in which the cycle of violence comes to an end.
پس این انتخاب که چگونه فیلم بسازیه، جزء کدوم دسته باشی.
So it is a choice. It's a choice of what kind of films to make and what group to belong to.
وقتی جزء اون دسته بودی خود به خود میگه که چگونه نگاه کن.
When you're in the 5% category, it will automatically tell you how to see things,
آدم‌ها رو چگونه ببین،
how to look at people,
دنیا رو چگونه ببین.
how to see the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being an artist. Thank you for being in the 5%. And thank you for making art that fills us with the possible. Truly. Jafar Panahi, it was just an accident, is now streaming on Hulu.